Welcome to Salt of the Earth, Northwich People of Action, the podcast celebrating the people, projects and community events that help make our area such a special place. In this episode, Melanie Cotton shares her positive experiences as a Rotary member and explains how getting involved completely changed her perception of what Rotary is all about. We also hear from Jim Swainson about Vale Royal Talking Newspaper, one of Northwich's best kept secrets, providing vital support and connection for visually impaired residents across the local area. David Buxton joins us once again to explore Rotary's international work and how the Lend With Care programme helps us to support small business owners around the world who are working hard to strengthen their own communities. And last, but definitely not least, Nick Abbott is back to talk about Rotary's legendary Christmas activities, from the town grotto to the much-loved Santa sleigh that brings festive magic to neighbourhoods across the area. Santa's secrets are on the way. Let's get into the conversation. Welcome to Melanie Cotton, a member of our Weaver Valley Rotary Club. Melanie, tell me first of all how long you have been a member of Rotary.
It's coming up to 2 years. I joined back end of the summer of 2024.
Am I right in thinking you came along to one of the visitors' evenings?
I did, yes. Somebody I knew through local business networking invited me. She had talked about Rotary just as we were having general chit-chat at local business networking meetings. And I thought, oh, that sounds lovely. That sounds like something I'd do when I retire and I've got more time on my hands. And she kept saying, no, really, it's not that time consuming. I'm busy too. I'm running a business, but I've got time to do it. And then somebody else in the group also chipped in and says, yeah, and I've got time as well. And then a few weeks later, they invited me to the open evening. And I thought, well, why not? I moved to Northwich 14 years ago. And in a bizarre sort of way, I've never really felt part of the community. I've always felt as though I've been an observer floating around on top of it, but not actually within it, because I don't have children. So I didn't get in the whole standing at the school gates, classroom, WhatsApp group type thing, getting to know other people locally. And I thought maybe this would be a nice way to get more involved in the community, meet more people locally, and become more of a Northwichian. And so when they invited me to the evening, I thought, yeah, I'll go along and I'll see what it's all about.
My invitation story is very similar to yours. It was David through one of our business networking groups, and he was always very positive about it, very proactive about it. I've got a lot of respect for David. I know he's very community focused. I also know that he's always super busy. So it did give me that perspective that if it was something massively time demanding, that he wouldn't be able to do it, so that it must be manageable. So very much like you, David invited me along, went to a meeting in a pub, and the rest is history. Did you have any reservations or preconceptions about either Rotary or getting involved?
My knowledge of what it was a little bit hazy. We all know about these community-focused groups. I remember as a child the Santa sleigh going down our street, and I don't think it was Rotary, I think it was another group, but you're aware of these, and I suppose my preconceived idea was that it was going to be a lot of older people, probably male-dominated, quite bureaucratic, quite committee meetings about things and subcommittees and procedure and processes, and I think that probably put me off a bit initially. But then, of course, when I came to the meeting and it turns out that I'm probably the average age for the group, still very much working age. The group's very much female majority membership and very relaxed, no procedures and committees and whatever. We meet in the pub, we get a drink. Yes, we have an agenda, don't we? But we work through it. There's no bang the gavel, move on to item number 2. There's none of that. It's like, oh, what's next? We'll talk about this. We talk about it. People go off on tangents. We have an aside, but we still discuss what we need to discuss and arrive at decisions about things. But it feels quite natural and friendly, really, rather than waiting for your turn to speak.
I always feel that although we have an agenda, it's a relatively loose agenda and there's not lots of procedural things on there. The agenda is normally talking about events we're organising or things that we're supporting. And it's more of a general open discussion about how we can help and how we can have the biggest impact and who can we get involved and how do we make this as exciting as possible. but also how do we keep things as easy as possible? Because one of the quite unusual things about our group is that we are more or less all working age, busy people. So we know we don't have masses of time to volunteer, but we really want to make a difference. So it's how we can organise events and different things like that, but in a way that isn't massively time consuming. We take away wherever we can too much rules and process, but we get things done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And in terms of the preconceptions, it's funny because I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know that I really had any preconceptions. I don't think I had a very strong idea either way of what Rotary was. I guess like you, I probably did think it was more senior people with time on their hands. And I probably did naturally think it would be more male focused because I think historically groups like this have been.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny since I've been a member, but I've become more aware to hearing Rotary mentioned in different things, like all these old repeats of detective programs like Midsummer Murders. And just every so often in whatever village is being slowly massacred in the episode, often somebody is mentioned as being a member of the local Rotary Club. And it's always a retired gentleman who is referred to in that way. So that sort of reinforces that stereotype, doesn't it? If that's the only thing that people hear about Rotary, they're going to think that the script writers know what they're talking about.
Yeah, we're having to fight against that, aren't we? Yes. Melanie, what Rotary events have you been involved with since you've been a member?
The big one, obviously, is the Santa Sleigh. And I actually find that I look forward to doing that. So I've done it 2 years running and it really kicks Christmas off for me. Not having children myself, I miss all the excitement. So going out and seeing the kids coming out, and some of them are so excited, absolutely beside themselves with joy that here's Santa and they get to have a photo with Santa and talk to Santa. I'm an elf, 5'11" elf. So we go ahead of the sleigh because obviously he's got the music playing that alerts residents that Santa's coming down their street. But because we can't take the sleigh down every single street, we go down the side streets and we just knock on the doors and say, if you've got any little ones or anybody who wants to come out, Santa's on his way, come out, have a chat with him, make sure you're on the good list, have a photo if you want. And that's it. Obviously we carry a collecting bucket, but I don't shake it in anybody's face. If they spot it and if they want to put some money in it, that's absolutely gratefully accepted. It's good to collect the money because it all goes to local good causes. Yeah. But to me, it's giving the joy to the children to see Santa. And I just love when you open the door and they're jumping up and down and Mum, where's my coat? Where are my shoes? I need to get out. And they're desperate not to miss him. That's what it's about for me. So knocking on people's doors and saying, Santa's on his way. Do you want to come out? Yeah, the Santa Sleigh is a big one. Our group have put on the local business networking event a couple of times, which as a small business owner, I've been to. Soup on the Go. I love Soup on the Go. It's such a nice, relaxed evening, but to give the chance for these really small organisations who can't access other pots of money, to give them a chance to spread the awareness of their association, their group, their organisation, the chance to pitch for and win an amount of money of £200, £300, £400 is very significant to some of these groups. And seeing the joy I'm using the word joy a lot, but you know, there's a theme here, I think. The joy on their faces when they realise that they've won the money. And even the ones who don't, it raises the profile of their organisation because we all then go out and talk to other people about, oh, did you know there's this group? I met some of the people who do the knitting and do the postbox toppers around Northwich. Or there's this organisation who bake birthday cakes and celebration cakes for families who maybe can't afford to give their kids a birthday cake. And then obviously there's the Talking Newspaper and all these different organisations that you then talk about to other people and it spreads their opportunities. It's not just on the night. So I like that whole creating a network for those people through my networks. And on the Rotary app, you have the list of all the different events that Rotary are putting on. And you can sign up to volunteer for any of those, like the Fire Fest or the Beer Festival or the River Festival. I signed up for Firefest and for one of the local amateur dramatic groups was putting a show on at Brio and they needed front of house help. So I signed up for that as well. But unfortunately, it was a period where my mother was in and out of hospital, so I wasn't able to do it. But that's the wonderful thing. It's such a supportive organisation. You volunteer to do something and they're grateful that you volunteered. But they're not going to come to your house and drag you down to the venue because you said you'd do it. If something happens and you email and you say, look, I'm really sorry I can't come because this has happened, they're fine. They understand life gets in the way. We're all volunteers, we're all giving our own time, and they understand that sometimes priorities have to change at short notice. That's the good thing about it. If you're there, wonderful, great. If you can't be, I mean, they even ask me, is there anything we can do? Do you need any help with anything? I've got advice about things from people in our group that if I wasn't a member of, I wouldn't have got because I wouldn't have been talking to people.
Yes.
So personally as well, you get something back. You put in, but you get back as well. So I find it really supports the community, but it supports members as well.
Good. Have you ever felt any obligation to volunteer more than you really want or have the capacity to do?
Oh, absolutely no pressure whatsoever. No, we're made aware of what's going on and that's it. Nobody pressures you to do anything. There's absolutely no pressure. Meeting once a fortnight. It's basically just going to the pub, isn't it? So that's not onerous.
Obligation.
A couple of hours in the pub every other Tuesday. And then the Santa sleigh, what's that, 3-4 hour stint? What would you be doing otherwise? Watching telly? It's not the end of the world if you miss telly for a night, is it? These days with catch up. So no, it's been fine. I could probably quite easily actually do more.
We'll make a note of that.
I don't get the feeling that anybody's looking at me and saying, well, I volunteered for this, this and this, and she's only done that. There's none of that either. We all understand that everybody's got lives and families and things going on. So no pressure.
Perfect. What are your thoughts around the way decisions are made?
I find it a lot simpler than I anticipated it would be when I first joined. I think because we're all like-minded people, we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, we all want the same outcomes. So if somebody comes with a suggestion of a good cause to support, I mean, nobody's going to bring to our group anything that they don't believe in for the sake of just suggesting something. We trust each other's judgment. So if somebody brings something to the group and says, there's this organisation, this is what they do, this is who they do it for, and this is how we could help them. And often it's not huge amounts of money, is it? We're talking 100 quid sometimes, but that can make a massive difference. And they put it forward. They say how much money would be useful. And it's literally just round the table. Yep. Great, do it.
Brilliant. Yes, it's quite simple. I think we've got enough protocol in there. So we've got minutes that are always recorded.
Yes.
And we've got banking protocols. So the 2 signatories over a certain amount. So we've got enough protocol in place to make sure that we've got some decent governance, but not anything that means that the decision making is very long-winded and, like you said, full of committees and subcommittees. So it takes a month to make a decision. It's quite straightforward and pretty practical. I guess my key question for you is, what would you say to somebody listening who is toying with the idea of joining or contemplating coming to a meeting, but perhaps they're feeling a bit hesitant about it?
I would say just try it, because you're under no obligation to join. You can just come to a meeting. You can come to 2 meetings and see how you like it, see how it feels for you, if it feels like the right fit. And if it doesn't, fair enough, no hard feelings. Thank you for trying. And if it does, again, you're not signing a 5-year contract. If you do 6 months and then think, this isn't fitting in it, or I don't feel comfortable, or something happens in life that means you've got a big time commitment somewhere else suddenly, again, that's fine. Just say, sorry, I can't come for a bit. We've got people who come periodically. We've got people who have paused their membership because they've had something happen. And they'll come back when that thing in their life has been dealt with in a few months' time.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say to people is, whilst we talked quite a lot here about our group, you would be more than welcome to go along to each of the groups and actually try all of them and see which one was the right fit for you.
Yeah, if you find the one that's the right fit, then everything just follows naturally. You just find yourself being involved because it feels natural to be, and your commitment develops organically.
Yeah, the groups are quite different. And I think you've summed it up really nicely, talking about doing something for the community, finding a way to be part of the community, but also building that support group as well, so that it gives you back as much as you contribute. I think that's amazing, really. That's been fabulous. Thank you, Melanie. It was really interesting to hear about your perspective on Rotary. We can definitely say that you feel very positively about it, and that people should come along to one of our meetings so they can talk to you about it in person.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks, Melanie.
You're welcome.
My next guest is Jim Swainson, the chair of Vale Royal Talking Newspaper. Jim, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Paula.
Tell us a little bit about Vale Royal Talking Newspaper. It's fair to say that despite having been neighbours for several years, it was only last year that I realised that you had anything to do with this and had never heard of this organisation at all. So tell us all about it.
It's a fair point, actually. It's our Achilles heel, really. We are very much a Cinderella charity, and very, very few people have heard of us. But we have been going 49 years. It is our 50th anniversary next year, which is quite exciting. There are hundreds and hundreds of talking newspapers. This was started around about 52 years ago. I think it was in Northern Europe when the cassette tape was introduced. And somebody had the idea that they could record the local newspaper onto a cassette tape and then distribute it to blind people in the area so as they could hear their local news. And it grew from that. And there are hundreds of talking newspapers now in the UK. We do the Northwich and Winsford Guardian. We've got about 23 volunteers working with us, and we've got around 60 listeners. And I say around because obviously our age profile of our listeners is probably mid-70s, I would say, on average, because the vast majority of them have got macular degeneration, which of course is something which only comes in old age. It really is a brilliant service because without the talking newspaper, they would have no knowledge of any local news at all. They have no access to any social media. They know about the news on the television. They hear the news on the radio, but of course there's no local news.
Yes.
We are a bit of a Marmite product, I think it's fair to say, because people either love us or they hate us. There's no in between with the talking newspaper. It's people who've lived in Northwich or Winsford all their lives.
Yeah.
They just really like to hear the local news.
Yeah.
And their favourite part is always the deaths.
Oh, what a happy thought.
When I go out to see people, take a player out for them, their first question is always, do you do the deaths?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they always want to know who's died. My mum always used to get the Chester Observer, and that was the first thing she did. Turned to the births, marriages and deaths. So.
Yeah, my mum was always the same with Manchester Evening News. Absolutely. How has it evolved? Because I'm guessing it's not cassette tapes anymore.
We distribute the talking newspaper 3 ways now. To people who haven't got any technology at all, no Wi-Fi or any mobile phones, anything like that. We record it and then put it onto memory sticks and we post it out on memory sticks. Now, we used to have 60, 70 wallets going out on memory sticks every week. It's all post-free, and that's done through the Royal Mail. That's by statute, so nobody can take that away for the blind. It's all post-free. But when I took over as chair, they were starting to talk about Alexa.
Yeah.
You may have remembered the really good adverts that they used to have for Alexa on the television, where somebody would be going, Alexa, what's the time? Alexa, what's the weather like?
Yeah.
And then they'd get their white stick or their dog, and they'd go out to work because they were blind. Thought, what a good idea that was. That's what we need to get on. Well, now, I would say 60% of our listeners listen via Alexa. That's been an interesting journey. The BWBF developed the app so as we could go on it, which is the British Wireless for the Blind Fund. So they're brilliant so far as that's concerned. We were very involved with them on that. But now we've got a really good, stable product. People listen on Alexa. As I say, the vast majority of people now listen on Alexa. And thirdly, we do a podcast, and it's mainly for people who still have a bit of sight, but their sight isn't good enough to read, but they'll take their dogs for a walk and they'll listen to us earphones as they take a dog for a walk. And of course, they can do that via the podcast. Great. So that's our main distribution.
Great. So the organisation's been going for 49 years. How long have you been involved, and how long have some of the volunteers been involved?
Jan and I have been involved for about 17 or 18 years.
Wow, okay.
We've been involved. And Kathy Wade, who's our ONSEC, she actually was there at the start. She's the only one left now who was there at the start. So she's actually been involved all the way through for 49 years.
Amazing.
And you've got everybody in between, people who've been there literally for a matter of weeks. And then we've got people who've done 30 years with us.
Phenomenal. And is anybody paid, or are all of you volunteers?
Nobody's paid. It's really quite a difficult business to run because we don't charge anything.
Yes.
We give everything away for free. We don't pay anybody. So it's quite an interesting business to run.
Yes. That brings us round to your involvement with Rotary, because you were involved with the Soup on the Go event last October. Can you tell us a little bit about that event, how you got involved?
Now, this is a fun story. This would be in June last year. They were closing London Road on a Saturday morning into Northwich, and it was the day of the artisan market. a young lady called Rachel Waterman. I think she's a counsellor, and she'd been putting on Facebook about how it was being closed. So I thought, maybe they just don't realise that it's the artisan market. I sent her a text message, and one thing led to another, and she said, did you fancy getting involved? And I said, no, I can't, because I'm running the talking newspaper, which is enough for me. And I think she then spoke to you, didn't she?
Yes, she sent me a message to say, do you know this Jim Swainson, and is he a bit of a cantankerous old so-and-so? And I said, no, he's absolutely lovely. So I think she was worried that you were going to give her some stick. So it was after your conversation with her that she then mentioned the talking paper to me, which was such an irony because we've lived across the road for, I think, 9 years. But yes, it's funny how these things come about. So through that, I heard about talking paper and then invited you to get involved with Soup on the Go.
Yes, Jan and I were on holiday in Tuscany at the time,
Yes.
and you sent her a WhatsApp. So we were sitting by a pool in Tuscany, reading your WhatsApp, and we decided we would have a go, yeah? We went to the Soup on the Go, and we've always been this Cinderella charity. I went to give the presentation with not much hope, really, and lo and behold, we won the £500, which was fantastic. And it was a fabulous evening, Paula. Really good evening. We thoroughly enjoyed it. I do recommend it to anybody.
Yes, it's a really kind of uplifting event, isn't it? You won first prize, much to your surprise. What did that prize money mean to you? Was there something specific that allowed you to do?
Well, we've been trying for some time to get involved with care homes. They have entertainment coordinators whose job it is basically to entertain the people who are residents there. And we've never been able to get involved with them because care homes are quite happy for us to do it, but they won't pay. And it costs us about £80 to set a new listener up if it's on one of our players. And for a charity which is so small and has no income at all, apart from the occasional windfall kind of thing, it's a big challenge. Also, it's an area that most volunteers don't want to get involved in. And it's not sexy, Paula, is it? Going into it's not, going into care homes and trying to sell a talking newspaper is not the ideal job that most people want to volunteer to do. But just before we went on Soup on the Go, we managed to get a volunteer, Alison, who's really keen. So with her, we've managed to get involved with one of the care homes locally. And we've been running a few experiments with them because what we're trying to do is find out what's the best way to do it. You get a care home which has got 100 people or 50 people in it. The chances are there'll only be 2 or 3 who want to listen to us because, as we say, it is very much this Marmite product. But when they love it, they love it.
Yeah.
We've now finalised everything and we've got everything running. And what we have to do is give a player to everybody who wants to listen. Now, this care home has got 3 people. So there's 250 quid gone straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've still got £250 left. But every week we don't spend any money. The Weaver Hall Museum is where we record and they give us the room for free. We actually couldn't exist if we had a recording studio, if you like. So they give us a room for free there. But getting that £500, it just gave us that freedom to do something risky, if you like.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying at the time that it was the biggest donation that you'd ever received.
Yeah. It's the biggest single donation that we've ever received. Yeah. It blew me away.
Based on your involvement with Rotary so far and your enjoyment of Soup on the Go, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about joining Rotary?
I'm going to be brutally honest with you here, Paul. Because the problem is, apart from the fact that they come up the road at Christmas with a Father Christmas on a sleigh, to me, Rotary has always been a load of posh people just looking down on everybody else. This is awful, isn't it? Because I know it isn't what you do now.
Yeah.
And I'm probably just on my own here, but I've always felt that it was something that was unobtainable. I remember when I finished work, and I'd been in a senior position with the Automobile Association. I was in their senior team. I was running areas where I had between 500 and 700 people working for me. I'd been in a real senior position, and I started to make just vague inquiries about Rotary. And I was just kind of told, not good enough, son, off you go. It was just for people who'd got their own businesses. It seemed very much a clique, Paula, They didn't want normal people like me.
And how long ago are we talking there, Jim?
I've been retired 22 years now, Paul. But this was a long time ago, yeah. But I was blown away when I realised you was involved with Rotary.
This is one of the reasons why we want to create this podcast, because through talking to people, we're finding out that there's a whole range of preconceptions or ideas that people have about Rotary. And some of that's through personal experience like you. And some of it is just through perception and what they've heard through other people. And we certainly don't think we're like that anymore. We're very much open to people from all sorts of walks of life and all sorts of ages. But we recognise that we've got to actually make sure that people understand that we have evolved, that we have changed, that we are more welcoming, inclusive and accessible. And actually, it's useful to hear stories like yours so we understand what those perceptions are and we can hopefully change them for the better. Is there anything as an organisation that you are particularly looking for at the moment? Do you need volunteers? Do you need donations? Do you need any form of equipment or help?
I will take money from anybody. But honestly, Soup on the Go didn't just give us £500. Soup on the Go gave us access to Kim Smith at Radio Northwich.
Yeah.
That then gave us lots of publicity. We were interviewed for the Our Town magazine.
Yeah.
And we had a major problem in as much as our average age across the talking newspaper committee was about 78. People were dying. People like me who are going to be 80, they're going to go. We've now got really good, high quality people in their late 50s, early 60s who've come to work for us. I'm going to finish in June next year.
Okay.
And my job has been for the last kind of year and will be for next year to make sure that it will just run smoothly and that there will be people in the senior positions. So we've really cracked that now, Paula, thanks to Soup on the Go and very much thanks to the money. And the publicity was fantastic. So, yeah, but if anybody's got any spare money and they want to... very, very grateful and we'll put it to very good use.
Fantastic. How can people get in touch with you, whether that's if they're interested in giving you money, volunteering, or if they've got somebody who they think could benefit from your service?
We do have a website, which is the best way for people to get hold of us, and that's vr-talkingnews.com. Pop Very Royal Talking Newspaper into Google, that'll find us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jim. It's lovely for us to hear about the ripple effect created, because Soup on the Go is quite a small event, but understanding the impact and how far it goes and how much it helps is absolutely brilliant for us. And it gives us real pleasure to hear about how much we've helped you guys at the Talking Newspaper.
You have. You've been life-changing, really.
Amazing. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Paula.
Welcome back. David Buxton, the founding partner of the Buxton Partnership, local chartered accountants, and one of the main instigators behind the creation of Weaver Valley Rotary. But what we specifically want to focus on is the international angle of Rotary, because the vast majority of this podcast is featuring very much what we do locally and how we're helping the local community. But Rotary as a global organisation is very much concentrated on making an international difference. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works and what is Rotary's international focus?
Absolutely. It's great to be back again. What I would say is that Rotary is governed by 4 guiding principles, and one of those is promoting international understanding. And that's about bringing peace and fellowship across the world and bringing people closer together. And that goes further, and I think it goes further into say that you would help people who are less fortunate than yourselves, whether that's economically from a very challenged country or there's been a disaster or something has happened and they're in need of urgent assistance. These are the kind of things that Rotary really does pull the stops out and help.
I find that quite interesting. Certainly when I first got involved with Rotary, I don't think I had very much idea at all of its international influence. And it really took me by surprise how many Rotary groups there are in so many different countries. It really is an international organisation with just impact everywhere. Probably one of the first things that I saw, because we offered a home to a Ukrainian lady when the war broke out, I discovered that Rotary were doing lots of collections for things like children's clothes and blankets. And so often in those situations, you see something going on afar and you wish you could do something about it, but you just don't know how to get involved other than perhaps sending some money to an organisation that's advertising on TV. And actually Rotary gives you that opportunity really locally to make a difference.
It's absolutely essential, and it's one of Rotary's great strengths that it is a truly international organisation. There are Rotarians all around the world, and whilst we may speak different languages, we do share a language, which is Rotary. And that allows Rotarians in a particular country who are witnessing challenges or are in need in their country to talk to other Rotarians around the world and to mobilise the support of other Rotary clubs and other Rotary nations to really help them to deliver the help that's needed.
Brilliant. Are there particular projects that are synonymous with Rotary internationally?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing with Rotary is it doesn't tend to advertise or blow its trumpet particularly loudly.
No, it doesn't.
That's the understated nature of Rotary in some ways, because it has no agenda to fulfill other than to help people.
Yeah.
So it's not looking for politics or personal aggrandizement. The main focus of Rotary internationally for several years has been to try and eliminate polio from the world, and it has done an amazing job in working with the Bill Gates Foundation as partners to deliver vaccines all around the world and to make an impressive dent in polio as a disease and almost eradicate it from the whole world.
I remember polio being mentioned quite a lot when I was a child. But these days, you just don't hear it mentioned very much at all. It's not Rotary alone, but a lot of that is down to Rotary and their collaboration and the impact. But as you say, the understated PR side of things almost means people really underestimate, firstly, how serious polio is and how widespread it used to be and what an incredible difference that Rotary involvement has made.
It's really easy to underestimate the level of influence that tackling polio has. We're of a certain age where we remember seeing people with polio on TV, even in society, occasionally. And well, let's not forget that polio doesn't just affect them physically, but it affects their life chances. It limits their horizons and their ability to work and to look after themselves and their families. So a country that has a substantial polio problem would also be a country that is going to struggle economically and enjoy the benefits of growth. So the fact that Rotary is helping on a medical basis, as generations progress, that's going to be felt through improved conditions and improved standards of living.
Yeah, it's an incredibly wide-reaching impact. From a local perspective, we as a club have not had direct involvement in the polio project. So what have we done to try to spread our influence a little bit wider?
As a smaller Rotary club, we've looked for ways in which we could team up with established partners and find channels through which we can try and make the maximum impact with the money that we can put in. For our international focus, we've worked with Lend With Care. Lend With Care are an amazing organisation that bring together entrepreneurs from around the world who are in need of funding to take their businesses forwards. This could be a single person or a small organisation who are looking to start a business. We've helped people within Vietnam, Kenya, Thailand, Rwanda, Togo, and many more countries than that. We funded 12 loans to these small entrepreneurs who work in rural, agriculture, retail, and we've had 5 of those loans completely repaid. But once we put the initial money in, we decided that every time that a loan was repaid, we would just reinvest that money into lending it to a new entrepreneur to help their journey towards self-sufficiency and growth with their business.
Fantastic. This fits so well with us as a group because quite a few of the group run our own businesses. The concept of being able to invest small sums of money into people all over the world who don't have the same opportunities that we have, but just really small amounts of money that help them to change their lives and sometimes change their community just feels fantastic. What sort of money are we talking about?
It's not that much money, or certainly our donation or our investment is not that much. We tend to limit our contributions to £100 per person.
Yeah.
It might be that an individual needs £1,000 to get their business off the ground, but we would contribute £100 of that, and then other donors, other lenders would make up the difference. The website shows you how much has been funded for that person. So we know if our contribution is going to help make a difference, close that circle for them so they've got all the money they need. But what I really like about Lend with Care is there's a brief biography of the person and what their motivations are. And quite often it is to build something generational for them and their children so that they can take care of the next generation or generations, and so that they can make sure that their children can remain local as well and that they don't have to migrate for work.
Yes, and that's a really good point. Have we invested all of that money so far into female entrepreneurs?
We have indeed. We've focused on female entrepreneurs because it can be the case that female entrepreneurs can struggle to attract the funding they need for their businesses. So we made a decision that we would focus on female entrepreneurs, and with a predominantly female membership of our Rotary Club, it felt like the right thing to do. And it's been a real joy to see the people who we have invested in pushing their businesses on.
Yeah, it really is incredibly rewarding, because with some of them we've invested as little as £15.
Yeah.
But to be able to know that's giving somebody the opportunity to improve their life, improve their children's lives, potentially add something to their local community as well. It's such a small contribution, but it really does feel like it has impact.
It has a big impact, not only in terms of economic impact, but the projects that we invest in, as well as them being female entrepreneurs, quite often they will have a sustainability impact as well. They're projects that are environmentally sensitive. They're projects that work in harmony with the local environment rather than against it. It does feel like we can tick quite a few boxes at once when we work with Lend with Care.
How do we know that we're lending the money safely?
The key thing there is that Lend with Care is a trusted and established partner, and they verify all of the entrepreneurs that they work with, and there is a very clear structure in terms of communication. So you know when you're getting repayments, where you're up to in terms of the loans you've made to people. We've not had a loan default ever. Yeah. My view is, even if we did, that would not affect my confidence in the system because it's honest and transparent. Sometimes businesses don't work out, and that doesn't have to be in a different country. That can be the case here. My view is that the quality of communication, the clarity of the communication with Lend with Care provides you with a good level of trust that things are being managed effectively and clearly.
Great. Would you say it's important to you to have this international angle to Rotary?
Yeah, I would. I'm very conscious that my focus in Rotary is predominantly local, but we can't forget that Rotary is an international organisation, and we cannot forget that we are part of the world. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on out there and not all of it good. And if we can just help in some small way, even for a small number of people, then that's a great win. We can't just throw our hands in the air and say there's nothing to be done. We do the best we can with what we've got.
I often consider Rotary as almost a pay-it-forward organisation, because it does tend to attract people who've finally found they've got at least a smidge of time available. But I think so many of us, we want to give back, we want to help our community, we want to do something positive and make an impact. And especially, as you say, it is a challenging world out there at the moment. But I think with everything we do locally and internationally, it's just all about doing what little we can to make a positive impact.
You learn, you earn, and you return.
Yeah.
And the contribution we make through Lend with Care and the international programs, this is about time to return and make sure that we do pay it forwards, that we do accept that we are blessed. We're very lucky to live where we do in a beautiful part of England, and some people are less fortunate than us, and we have to acknowledge that and accept the right thing to do is to help them.
Hopefully it gives people a real perspective that whilst we're doing brilliant stuff locally, we're also making our tiny little mark internationally as well. If somebody's listening and they'd like to know a bit more about Lend with Care or about the work that Rotary does internationally, how would you advise them to find out more?
Invite them to come along to the pub and join one of our Rotary meetings. Get a real flavour for what we do, understand what we contribute to internationally. We always have a Lend with Care update. We know where we're up to on the loans. Our treasurer makes sure that we are in the picture. at all times. Rotary are great at keeping in touch with us over what other international programmes are ongoing, also what other international disaster relief efforts are being made by Rotary, and if there's something that we can do to help with those, we most certainly would. So anyone who's interested, please come along. And if there's something internationally that you're interested in, then by all means, bring that to the table. We'd love to hear about it.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you so much again, David, for joining us on the podcast.
My absolute pleasure.
My next guest is Nick Abbott, a very prominent member of Rotary. Nick is very involved with the Christmas activities, the Santa Sleigh and the Christmas Grotto. Nick, could you tell us a little bit about how long you have been in Rotary?
I joined Rotary 11 years ago. I had just moved to Hertford and was looking for a way to help in the local community and put something back. It's very much a part of what I want to do and how I enjoy life, is to help other people.
How did you get involved with the Christmas activities?
It was run for a few years by another member of the club, and he was stepping down from it, and we had a meeting. I took it on. Interestingly, that took us into the COVID years, and so it became a very interesting Christmas that year.
The Santa Sleigh is absolutely synonymous with Rotary.
It's something that we really desperately want to keep going, and it's actually grown since COVID, when we were only able to wave to people. Since then, we've recovered and we've got something that the whole town enjoys. I see it running for many, many years.
Explain to us a little bit about Christmas activities as a whole. For anybody who's not familiar with what Rotary offers over Christmas, can you explain a bit more?
Yeah, we do Santa's Grotto from the Christmas light switch on in Northwich. So that Saturday, when they have the big light switch on and lots of events in Northwich, we open the grotto on that weekend. We have a lovely building, which is a shared asset between us and Barron's Key. We do every Saturday from 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. And then the days leading up to Christmas Day itself, we're able to open it for a few hours, just depending on how many volunteers we have to staff it. But it's well supported. We try to keep the prices as low as possible, and we offer a small gift for every child. We're trying to encourage people to have bigger groups, actually, because we can get through more people that way. So if people want to join up with other friends and families and come along as a group of up to 4 people, that helps us get through more families. And yeah, the sleigh, we try to get to every part of Northwich, which is a big and growing town and not able to do everywhere. And it's going to be an interesting challenge this year, what we do. I think we'll look at doing more with other groups. So if other groups are out there and they think, oh, we could do a route, and perhaps a charity that wants to look at that, we're very much interested in doing that to help reach every part of Northwich and raise more funds for local charities. It's always local charities that we raise funds for. And we try to concentrate more on charities for women and children with the Christmas collections as much as possible. But there's lots of good causes out there that need our help. It's a bit of joy, it's a bit of fundraising, and it's Northwich coming together in that special way that Northwich has.
How many times does the sleigh tend to go out, or how many Santa routes are there with this?
Oh my goodness, it's so busy, and there's so much room to do more. We go out every weekday in December. There's very few that we don't get out in December. And that, again, is due to volunteers, really, having enough volunteers to cover it. Weekends are more difficult for us as a club, and this is where we get a lot of help from Weaver Valley Rotary Club as well to cover weekends, because we're doing the grotto on the weekends. So Saturdays are difficult, and a lot of people like to take their Sundays off in our club, which is perfectly reasonable. So we did Sundays with Weaver Valley Club, and so we covered some of the weekend days as well. In fact, we had our most successful year because of that this year.
Our group, with most of our members still working, the weekday evenings are quite challenging. So actually for us, the weekends work really well. So it really just shows what a great collaboration it is between the different clubs, because those Sundays for us work absolutely brilliantly. How many volunteers do you need each time the Santa sleigh goes out?
We need about 8 people, really, as a minimum. We need a team leader. We need someone to wear the big red suit and a driver. And they're really tied to the sleigh. So you've got 3 people who are doing that. And then you need a couple of collectors knocking on doors each side of the street. So 2 each side. And we usually have one collector who's trailing, just for those people who've heard it go by, perhaps didn't hear the doorbell ring, but then come rushing out and want to donate or want to give Santa a wave. which gives us a skeleton crew of 8.
8 volunteers, and you're doing something like 20 evenings. So all in all, that's an awful lot of volunteers, isn't it? And obviously the volunteers you need for the grotto.
Yes, it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hours. We're talking, over 1,000 volunteer hours, something like 1,500 volunteer hours. And unfortunately, due to licensing laws, those collectors have to be adults. They have to be 18 or over. It used to be the case, I think, we had local scout groups or Girl Guide groups would come along and do some collecting, but it's just not legal to do that anymore.
What kind of feedback do you get from people when you're out in the street with the sleigh or when the families come into the grotto?
It's just amazing, really. I get a lot of people that perhaps haven't even seen it before. We have the music playing and the kids are really enthralled to see Santa. You can also get people who've seen it over many years. They just welcome it. They'll have their little jar of pennies that they've been saving up all year round by the door ready for that doorbell to ring and make that donation. And they could be retired people that remember it from many years ago when they were younger and had children at home. So it's lovely, really. You get such an amazing reaction. And we saw a lot of people that are new to the area that hadn't seen it this year, saw it for the first time. We have the singing elves along sometimes, which again, just adds an amazing theatrical element to it, which just brings a lot of joy in the darker days of winter.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our members who helped out this year said some kind of comment about her being a bit of a Grinch and not loving Christmas because she doesn't have children herself, but it really reinvigorated the spirit of Christmas for her. It's just such a joyful experience. It really is. And as you say, kids that are coming out enthralled to see Santa for the first time. And then families where it's part of their tradition and they'll have a little routine about who puts what into the bucket. It's wonderful. It really feels like an institution in the town.
It is. And we often get quite poignant moments, really, where people are at home with a relative, perhaps with dementia, for example. You get them making special requests. Can we just stop and say hello to them? And even though we're ostensibly out there to bring joy to the children and it's Santa, but we get older people that get so much out of it. And you see it in their faces, and it means so much to people when you have those special moments. And we've had a few of those this year, actually. Yeah.
Brilliant. Is there any funding or support with volunteers that comes externally, or is it pretty much all down to Rotary?
It's pretty much all down to Rotary. We've tried several times to get sponsorship for the gifts that we give out for the grotto, but it's so difficult, actually. And corporations have their own policies about what they'll do, and small businesses are really struggling anyway. So it gets very difficult. Paul, you have managed to get a sponsorship for our gifts for the grotto next year, which is just wonderful news, which really helps, and I do appreciate that greatly.
But actually, without being too mercenary, if there are local businesses out there listening who would be interested in sponsoring Santa Sleigh Route or a day at the grotto or something like that, I'm fairly sure we'd be quite open to that, wouldn't we?
We would be, yeah, definitely. And we do our Sen grotto as well, which I think is really important. We have people with special educational needs in Northwich, and they get a toned down grotto. So we don't have the bright lights flashing. We don't have any music on. It's on a Sunday morning when the town is nice and quiet. So if people have got severe autism disorder and just need their own space, they don't need to queue. They just wander around, and when it's their slot, we call them over and get them in. And a session like that, where obviously we don't charge the parents for that. And again, it's a brilliant sponsorship opportunity to help us with the Sen session.
Yeah. And you've mentioned collectors. Can you give us an idea of how much benefit comes out of the Christmas activities?
We made nearly £15,000 this year.
Amazing.
It's by far the largest fundraising event of the year, so it's our most important event in that regard. A chunk of that money goes towards our seniors' lunch.
Families on doorsteps, just giving a few coppers, are contributing to a day out for those elderly people in the community who don't get that opportunity. That ripple effect is just lovely, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Isolation's a terrible thing, and it just breaks that for a moment for a lot of people.
Could you give us a little insight into how much organisation there is behind the Christmas activities? Because it looks fab with the sleigh and the lights and the music. It would be easy to think that that's very straightforward. There's an awful lot more that goes on in the background.
I've calculated there's approximately 300 volunteer hours into the organisational side. We start planning in August. I think we're going to move it forward to July because we were still feeling a little bit rushed. We have a project plan that we work through, and it's become quite detailed over the years, but there's sleigh maintenance, there's the licensing, which in itself is a complex procedure to go through and seems to get more complex each year. We need to detail the routes we're going to take, which days we're doing the grotto. So a lot of planning has to be done with the town council as well, because the start date fits into when they're having a Christmas extravaganza in town. And the organisation of the rota itself is probably one of the biggest things. We had 56 volunteers on our rota this year. The majority of those were external volunteers. And that makes it so much more difficult. And a lot of it is regulation, as you can imagine. The Santa Rota in itself is a separate entity, which my wife organises, because the grotto is such a big demand of volunteer time. A great deal of activity, a lot of people involved. They have a committee meeting, and it goes on for 6 months of the year to get it sorted, yeah.
I think you do an amazing job of organising everything with lots of support from Tracy, your wife. How much of a collaborative effort is it across Rotary groups in Northwich?
Well, all of the clubs contribute to it. We work under the mantle of Rotary in Northwich, and we work together on all of the activities that go on throughout the year. And Rotaract as well, they helped us with the grotto. And we can't do it without the support of all of the clubs, without any doubt. Weaver Valley were really instrumental in helping with some very long runs around Barnton in particular. And it's worth mentioning the distance. The Barnton run this year was over 10-kilometre walk, and it was 4.5 hours in length, assisted by younger Rotaract members and younger members in your club. Really quite a challenge and very much appreciated.
Yeah, we're always very excited when we know that some of the Rotaract members are coming to help with our routes because they're so young and lively.
Yes, absolutely.
And they head off down the cul-de-sacs and they bring lots of people out to come and see the sleigh. A really big team effort.
The evening routes tend to be about 5 kilometres, and that's much more manageable for people.
If somebody was interested in getting involved with volunteering at the grotto or on one of the sleigh routes, do they need to be a Rotary member?
No, they don't, actually. The rules of Rotary are that we need to have Rotary members present, but we do have an insurance scheme that includes friends of Rotary, effectively, who fit under that, as long as everybody is under our risk assessment. Of course, I should mention for the grotto and for the sleigh routes, we have risk assessments done for each of those. Yeah, it goes on and on, but those things are in place, of course, and so we can take volunteers in to help, yeah.
So if somebody's interested, get in touch with us, come along to one of our Rotary meetings, have a chat with us about the Christmas activities and what's possible, and we can very much take it from there.
But yeah, there's different things that we can do if people want to help a little bit. And we've had volunteers that have come along for years and years. They like to do their own area, but they'll also perhaps come to one or two other areas. Again, if people just from a particular area in Northwich want to join the sleigh when it comes to that area, for example, it all helps. And it's as much as you want to give. There's nothing wrong with coming along and helping for an hour and going home again. And having those outside groups, if they can get the 8 people together, drivers are not so much of a problem for us. We usually have sufficient drivers. It's the big red suit guy and 7 other adults to help. There's plenty of potential there.
So if there's any community groups thinking, oh, maybe we could do that, then they should get in touch, have a conversation, just see what's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Hopefully we have got across just how joyful the Christmas activities are, but also how much work goes into them and how much benefit it delivers to the community. Thank you so much for that, Nick.
Thank you.
We really hope you've enjoyed this episode and hearing the stories of the people, projects and volunteers who help make our area such a special place. We'd love to think it might even inspire you to get more involved in your own community, whether that's through volunteering, supporting a local project, or perhaps even becoming a Rotary member yourself. You'll find links alongside this episode to all the organisations and events we've featured today, so you can find out more or get involved with any that particularly interest you. If you've enjoyed listening, please follow the podcast and leave us a rating or review. It really helps more people to discover these local stories. And if you know somebody else who'd enjoy this podcast, we'd love you to share it with them too. If you'd like to find out more about Weaver Valley Rotary or come along to one of our meetings, you would be very welcome. And you can find all the details at www.weavervalleyrotary.org. Thank you so much for listening.